This is for all the students who could not attend the lecture because of Ike. I don't want you to be penalized, but we did go over a lot of really important material. Uh, we're, we're really delving much more deeply into the Olmec, and I want you to have at least the broad outlines here via um, internet video so that you can hit the ground running when we do get together the next time. Please also try to get some notes from fellow students who were there so that you can flesh out this dialogue. Uh, this is, of course, following on the lecture we had on San Lorenzo when we talked about the rise of urban civilization. This is indicated by any number of things, a lot more population in a center, but also the rise of this portrait style of colossal heads. And we talked a lot about what this could mean to Olmec society. This early Olmec sculpture is also identified by the use of tableaux vivants or sculptural groups in theatrical poses and relationships. And we talked about the center of these cities then being stage sets for these sculptural groups. I talked a lot today about Olmec sculptural conceptions, basic sculptural considerations like the fact that it's mainly figurative. The human body is a major topic for the Olmec, but it's not every detail of the human body, and they're not interested in the precise sort of sinew and bone and fingernail and realism that we know from some other ancient traditions. Instead, the Olmec have a monumental conception of the body. And by this I mean that not necessarily every sculpture was big, although of course that is the case with the colossal heads, but that the forms were monumentally conceived. They were large forms. They're thought out in large planes and large uh, shapes. For example, look at the arms of this figure. You don't see the biceps. You don't see every little bit of muscle. You don't see a lot of the elbow differentiations that we would get, the bony elbow differentiations that we would get from a more naturalistic or realistic tradition. Instead, what you see are these large cylindrical forms, and this smooth, large conception of the human body is what gives Olmec figures their monumentality, even though in fact this sculpture is really very small and made out of course, the Olmec precious material par excellence, as we talked about today at length, jade or serpentine. The Olmec valued this really above all and set the stage for later Mesoamerican cultures to, in fact, value this material above everything. On your left, you have the Las Limas figure, Limas, and what's really important about this figure is it gives us a lot of Olmec symbolism in relation to one another, in relation to other symbols. The figure that's being held by the more naturalistic human figure is a very strange, interesting supernatural that seems to be at the center of Olmec thought. This figure can be worn as a headdress as well as held in the arms like this. When it does have a full body, it's often infantile, but one thing is certain that you find that across Olmec imagery. Now, of course, we're talking about the Olmec area or the Olmec heartland in southern Veracruz and Tabasco. These colossal heads, the colossal head tradition that we find in San Lorenzo, shows up in later Olmec cities, what we'd have to call Olmec capitals, I think, because of their centrality, their importance during their time period. And the city, the Olmec capital we're going to look at next time is La Venta, and that's the major site after the fall of San Lorenzo, sometime around or a little after 1200 BC.